Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Freddy Fazbear box just dropped at Popeyes for $7.99, and it's scary good. Garlic palm tenders and cheesy bites with marinara sauce. Upgrade to the deluxe box with $12.99 and get a 20-ounce drink in a cupcake cup. Dig in before it's too late. Try the Freddy Fazbear Crunch menu, now at Popeyes. See Five Nights at Freddy's 2, only in theaters. Love that chicken from Popeyes. Limited time at participating U.S. restaurants. Prices may vary.
This is the Cats Roundtable with John Catsimatidis.
Everywhere around the world, they come to America. Every time that flag's unfurled, they come to America.
Good morning, America. This is the Cats Roundtable. John Catsimatidis here. Today, we have Secretary of HUD, Scott Turner. We have the U.S. Attorney of Washington, D.C., our own Janine Pirro. We have Dr. Peter Michalos, live long and prosper. Scott Shea started a new bank called the Next Bank. And wait till you hear about that one. We have Lynn Shaw on how do we save our kids. And to lead off the story, our own Bill O'Reilly. And he spent 40 minutes in the Oval Office Wednesday night with the President of the United States. Let's hear what happened. With us this morning is Bill O'Reilly, a great national host, and on Wednesday, spent 40 minutes with the President of the United States in the Oval Office. Bill O'Reilly, give the American people a briefing.
What I was down there for was the White House Christmas gathering. And I have been doing this for 25 years. I've been attending the White House around Christmas time, 25 years since Bush the Younger. And when I go to the White House or even talk to the president on the phone, I never initiate the conversation. I always wait until he does. And I answer his questions because he's the president. I'm an American citizen. Okay. So we're in there, and he was kind enough to allow me to take my son and my nephew, who were just bedazzled, because the White House has never looked better in the history of the building. It is a magnificent structure. It was just stunning. I have to say that I mean, pretty much seen it all. And I went, whoa, look at this. Every portion of the working part of the building, which is what they call the West Wing, just glimmered, and the Christmas decorations are fantastic. Then we got into a few of the policy things that he wanted to talk to me. And I consider myself very lucky, not only with President Trump, but with President Obama, with President Trump, with President Bush, both the elder and the younger, that they sought my opinion. And I think that in my 50-year journalism career, I've earned some respect in the sense that they know I'm not going to curry favor. I'm not going to kiss up. You ask me a question, John, and you know this better than anybody on the planet, I'm going to give you an answer to the question. So
I do the same. I do the same thing with the president. I don't necessarily give him a kiss the butt answer. I give him the way it really is. Right.
So the first question is something that's weighing on him, and that's the economy and the high cost of living. And I said, listen, Mr. President, if you look back at 2017, Barack Obama got wiped out in his second midterm because of the exact same thing, the economy, and people were feeling pain in their wallet. So you need to take very, very aggressive action, so does the party, the Republican Party, to lay out exactly what you're going to do next year and beyond. And I suggested a press conference with the president, with the leader of the Senate, Thune, and the leader of the House, Johnson, all three of them, with some selected members of the press to answer specific questions. Because what Americans are, they're not looking for a magic wand here in most parts of the country. In New York, we are. That's why Mandani is the mayor. And it's going to not turn out well. But you can put forward, look, this is the problem, high health insurance, and here's how we're going to fix it. Americans will respect that. But right now, they're losing hope that anybody's been working on it. All right, then we went into drug boats. And this was, I talked to him years ago after he left the office the first time about the only way to defeat these cartels is to attack them with military force. That's the only way. And he was reluctant to do that his first term. But I remember the conversation at Mar-a-Lago. I looked at him, I said, look, just designate them terror organizations like ISIS and Al-Qaeda, because they're killing more Americans than ISIS and Al-Qaeda combined.
And that's absolutely correct.
Right. And then you can go in and disrupt their supply lines, and if you find out where the leadership is hiding in Mexico or Venezuela or Colombia, wherever, you can take them out just like you took out Soleimani, the terrorist tyrant of Iran. I said, you don't need to get congressional approval for this. The Bush doctrine after 9/11 gives the president the power to do it. So finally, he's just doing it, okay? And I have no beef with it. It's funny, John, because, the left, which hates everything he does, and let's use Schumer as an example, because he's in New York, everybody knows him. So Donald Trump's not going to be able to do anything that Senator Schumer is going to like. Nothing. But if I were interviewing Senator Schumer, I would say to him, well, what's your solution on how to denigrate and weaken the drug cartels that are killing hundreds of thousands of people in the USA, millions all over the world? Senator, what's your solution? I'll bet you what, for charity, that Senator Schumer does not have a solution, because there isn't one when you're making billions of dollars. So, I wrote a book called Confronting Evil. 2 chapters of that book are on the drug cartels and the horrendous damage they do to humanity. And the Democrats are objecting to taking these guys out? Come on. This is insane. So Trump wasn't worried about that, but overall I said, don't worry about the carping. You get a guy like Jimmy Kimmel go on the air this week, John, and he goes, well, maybe these guys are fishermen. This is what Kimmel says to his audience. Yeah, maybe they're innocent fishermen.
People don't realize, Bill, that we're at war right now with these dictators.
Yeah. Look, you either protect your people or you don't. And I think that's another reason President Trump values my opinion, is because I'm a simple guy. To me, if I'm president, my top job is protecting the American people. So that was part of our discussion. And then we got into a bunch of stuff that I said a lot of the problems that come up that distract you, that you have to deal with, aren't policy problems, they're presentation problems. How you present, like the Somali thing in Minnesota. And I go, I know it's been a big winner for you being confrontational and being populist, and it has. Nobody ever in this country has done what Donald Trump has done. He looked tired, but I look tired.
I look tired too.
Yeah, we're old guys.
We're all in our 70s.
But we're running the world at that age. I think he's working harder than Lincoln. Lincoln and Trump are like back at, because he always asks me about that. He's very interested in his legacy, where he ranks. And I said, there's a lot of different categories, Mr. President. But as far as hard work is concerned, you're up there with Abe, because Abe didn't sleep either. And then you had that outrageous New York Times article 2 weeks ago that says now Trump's getting old and falling off. Now, here's how I know that's not true. I deal with the White House every week, at least once, sometimes more, at the highest levels. And I deal with his staff, who are all decades younger than him. They can't keep up with him.
We got a minute left, Bill O'Reilly. Well, how do you want to sum this up?
I want to tell people that, with 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks of Christmas, but I want Americans to relax a little bit this month. We'll sort it out. Nobody knows what's going to happen, but we'll sort it out. And when you go to Washington, the White House, you see, and there are a lot of cabinet members there, and I spoke to a lot of people. I'm not worried. I think things are going to fall into line. So I want everybody to have a good time. Continue to listen because we're on every day, and if something happens, you'll know about it first from us. And but I do want people to have I hate to use the word joy. It's kind of a cliche, but lay it out so you have a lot of fun. Everybody needs a break for the next 3 or 4 weeks.
America is going to be number one again. It's always been, but we're going to maintain that number one position. Bill O'Reilly, we love you. Thank you so much, and we'll catch up again real soon.
Thanks for having me on the Roundtable, John.
Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back right after this break. Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. With us, Dr. Peter Michalos. Live long and prosper is his nickname. Well, Dr. Peter, what are we going to do to live longer?
Well, one of the things we want to do to live longer is we definitely want to avoid getting things like the flu and COVID. And as we're approaching, the peak is December and January. And we have to remember that on the average in the United States, 35,000 people a year die from flu, and worldwide, 700,000 people die a year from flu. So it is something to be concerned about, and the CDC reports that there's a new flu variant called the K variant, and it's from the flu A family, and the flu A family, compared to the flu B, is actually the one with worse symptoms. So if you have fever, cough, sore throat, congestion, body aches, headaches, fatigue, the best thing to do is to get tested, because these viruses replicate, and if you can get oral antivirals like Tamiflu, if you have the flu, within the first 72 hours, it makes a big difference to block viral replication and reduce the symptoms, and then you're less likely to end up in the hospital or end up with secondary pneumonia. Of course, flu vaccines are always helpful because they soften the blow with some cross protection, even if they didn't make the vaccine for that specific strain. So these are the things. The other interesting thing that people always talk about, vitamin C and flu. Vitamin C doesn't help prevent you from getting it, but what it does is they've shown it helps reduce the symptoms. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing to have. And then turning to our other friend, COVID strain is called the Stratus strain, or the XFG, which is now the dominant 76% of cases, and then there's another variant that represents the other cases called the Nimbus variant. And the good news is that there is now a non-mRNA vaccine option, because a lot of people just want the traditional protein cell vaccine, the same type that we have for hepatitis, shingles, and diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, which already exists. So now there is that option. It's called the Novavax, and you can ask your doctor for it. So because some people have concerns about how much testing was done in long-term from the mRNA vaccines, and what they do is they just take basically the dead inactive spike from COVID, and then they make antibodies, and they add something from nature called something from the soap bark tree, which actually is an adjuvant, which means it helps stimulate the immune system to go after the viruses. So that option does exist, which is a good thing. And the other thing with COVID, of course, we do have the 2 antivirals now, which really makes a big difference, but you must get it within 5 days of getting symptoms. And there's Paxlovid, which has some side effects and interacts with more medication. And then the other option is the molnupiravir, which has no drug interactions. But you can't take it if you're pregnant. And if you take it within 5 days, you lessen the symptoms, less likely to end up in the hospital. And of course, as we've talked about, the better your D levels, the less severity of COVID-19 you get. And basically also they found on blood tests, the higher your D levels were when you got COVID, the lower the inflammatory markers, because vitamin D has been shown to also enhance your whole antimicrobial defense system. So it builds up your armor, and it's like your shield. And which is
none of the doctors I go to ever run a vitamin D test unless you specifically ask them. None of them run a arsenic test or a mercury test unless you specifically ask them. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, because they're employee physicians of a health system. So if you're part of a certain health system and you do the test and then the insurance company doesn't pay for it, then the hospital doesn't get paid for it, and those doctors who are employees get penalized. If you go to an independent, concierge or integrative medicine specialist, they're not thinking about the numbers. They're thinking about what can I do to help this patient. So doctors have only 15 minutes to see people, and they just do the bare minimum amount that's required for them for risk management. But they're not going to go and measure other things. Like, for example, COVID-19 patients are found to have deficiencies in selenium, magnesium, vitamin A, and nobody's going to do those tests, or they're not going to tell you that, that when you have COVID, you have low glutathione levels, take some glutathione. They'll only tell them what's in the most basic standard of care. And also when you order those tests, you have to supply and fill out a lot more paperwork and diagnosis codes. Each test, if you don't have the diagnosis code, the insurance company won't pay it, and it creates a multi-level, uncompensated administrative burdens, and they have to fill out forms. So that's why we need a transparent healthcare system where you have a price list, and that's why the good thing now is if you can go to the major labs, you can go buy your tests on your own and get a package. For example, you can pay $200 for a hormone package, whereas if you did it in the hospital, it would be $1,000. Same thing with x-rays, as we know, MRIs and CAT scans. If you go to the hospital, it might be $2,000. You go to a private center, it'll only be $500. So it has a lot to do with the paperwork and penalizing doctors who are employees who no longer have control of their own practices. But the last thing I just want to quickly touch upon is the electronic heroin of cell phones that we talk about on WABC, warning parents. And it's now been confirmed that people who get cell phones before age 12 have 1.3 times more depression, 1.6 times more insomnia, 1.4 times more obesity. And when they're on social media all the time, it's also creating a problem with the envy and jealousy, and everyone always posts their Instagram picture of the perfect moment in life. And these young kids, who some of them won't have the opportunity to do or see or eat some of these foods, you see teenagers taking pictures in their restaurants. So it creates a feeling of inadequacy and depression. So that's why it's important to keep the cell phones away. For communication, they're good. Just get a regular flip phone that doesn't go on the internet so you can communicate with your child, with school, and these are some of the solutions. But we're learning more that cell phones are toxic, and that's why a lot of school systems are requiring them to hand it in the beginning of school and then hand them back at the end of school.
Well, it is what it is. Well, Dr. Peter Michalos, thank you for everything you do to make our listeners live longer, and God bless you and God bless America.
Thank you, John. Health is wealth, and thanks for always getting the truth out on the Cats Roundtable.
The Cats Roundtable.
With us this morning is a former Fox host. We have Attorney General Jeanine Pirro.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Well, you guys have done a phenomenal job in Washington, D.C.
Well, the interesting thing is, and by the way, I appreciate the promotion, but I am the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, and Pam Bondi, of course, is the Attorney General. But the good news is, John, that when the president came into this district and he said, I want to make D.C. safe and beautiful, after all, it's the nation's capital, we had the fourth highest homicide rate in the country in 2024. Carjackings were through the roof. It was a violent place. There's no question about it. It was dangerous here in D.C. And along with the president's directive, President Trump, as well as the partnerships here, there has been a movement to move the criminals out and protect the law-abiding citizens. And the surge that you hear about has resulted in over 7,072 arrests and 671 seizures of guns. We've got law enforcement partners walking the streets, making it safe. And wherever I go, John, I have to tell you, people say, thank God for President Trump. We feel better. We're safer. Because John, you're a businessman. You cannot conduct business. You cannot have a prosperous area if people don't feel safe, if businesses don't thrive, if your kids can't go to school. We're seeing incredible reductions in crime, 50%, in robberies, 60%. Carjackings are down. And as a U.S. attorney, my job is not just to prosecute federal crime. I am the only U.S. attorney who's a double hatter. That means that I do local crime and federal crime. So our hands are full here, but we're up to the task, and we're thrilled to be able to deliver results to the people of the district.
I mean, even the Democratic mayor said that she was very happy about things. Why can't we do this in other cities like Chicago or whatever?
It's a great question, John. And, we can do it in cities where the Democrat mayors or, leaders are interested in safety and security for the people of their jurisdiction. But the truth is that many of these Democrats are only interested in ideology and power. And if that's their only interest, then this is a game with a Republican president to keep him out and to suggest that the Republicans are doing nothing but creating chaos. If a Democrat leader like Mayor Bowser, if you have someone like that who's interested in the people and interested in getting rid of crime, then we get it done. It's really that simple, John.
Washington, D.C. is a pure example of how every city should be. And I'm worried about New York, our old home here, your old home.
Yeah. I think that, time will, support our concern. We can't have mayors or leaders who are more about progressive leftist ideology than they are about doing the work of government, because the first order of government is the protection of its people. And when people are obsessed or leaders are obsessed with, hating who the president is or drilling down to make sure that they, fire people up and create chaos where there is no need for chaos, for example, with immigration, then you're going to have a problem. The truth is that you don't have a right to be in this country. You only have a right to be here when you're invited here and you follow the law. And all of a sudden, there is a whole segment of our society that believes that, they came here. They're not illegals. No human is illegal. Well, yes, they are. But if they're going to continue with that, then they're going to create divisiveness and all kinds of chaos. And President Trump isn't interested in that. He's interested in safety and security, and he's delivered it. And then the American people decide.
I'm sure the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, see, I got it right, knows what she's doing. And the fact is, my personal belief is that people are paying these people to do what they're doing.
Yeah, well, certainly there are reports that a lot of these perpetrators of the chaos are being funded by, left-wing organizations, and that it really isn't about real Americans, that these protesters are, moving from one area to another in the country wherever they're needed, and that's no surprise. But I think that it's the elections that speak the truth, and the fact that 75 million voted for President Trump, and the man is delivering. Every issue, whether it's outer space, whether it's the economy, whether it's law and order, whether it's the Treasury, whether it is bringing in money into this country to support our financial infrastructure, he's there. I'm honored to be working here and to fight the fight right here in Washington.
Anything else you would like to tell the people of the United States, since you're there being the U.S. Attorney, double coupons for the district and for the local?
Well, let me tell you, one of the things that is I think is so fascinating about this job is the fact that people come to the nation's capital to make statements and to commit crimes. So, just last week, we had this guy, Ramanullah Lackenwall, who shot a 20-year-old National Guard, a young woman, Sarah Beckstrom. I was at her memorial earlier this week. And there was another National Guardsman from West Virginia who is in hopefully stable condition, I hear today. And, he came here from across the country, from the state of Washington, to murder these individuals. And then when I first got here, we had the individual who came from the state of Illinois transporting a gun across state lines to kill two Jewish, one Israeli, an Israeli employee of the embassy here, and shot two beautiful individuals again in the nation's capital. So this place is a place where you see a lot of crime, different kinds of crime, and just this week, the pipe bomber. The Biden administration, kind of put it on the back burner. And when Kash Patel and Dan Bongino came in and I came in, we made a decision that this was going to be a priority. And I announced the filing of charges that will on Friday that will occur with this defendant. And, a case that they said would never be solved. And we literally mined down on more than 3 million pieces of data connecting receipts and connecting purchases and cell towers and, cell phones. It was an incredible operation by the FBI, and it really is a testament to the determination of our law enforcement partners. And so, we stand here ready to handle whatever it is we're dealing with. We're also dealing right now with some tankers around the world that are yet to go into international waters, where we will seize what's on those tankers and deliver that money to the assets from those tankers to the American Treasury. So a lot going on here and a lot of good news going on here. But one thing is for sure, there's a lot of work being done and a lot of effort on the part of the people who work here. And I'm very proud to be a part of it.
Janine Pirro, God bless you. And thank you so much for
coming
on. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Miss you. Bye.
Miss you too. Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back right after this break. Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. If you ever miss a segment or want to hear it again, go to WABCRadio.com, go to podcasts, go to minicast, and play back your favorite segment. With us today is HUD Secretary Scott Turner. Well, Mr. Secretary, congratulations on your new position. And I understand you worked for our mutual friend, Ben Carson, and he was, well, welcome to Washington. You know what Washington is all about. How deep of a swamp is it?
Well, John, it's always good to be with you, sir. You know, D.C. is a tough place, and, you know, it is the swamp, as they call it, but we're doing everything we can here at HUD every day to bring transformation to the people that we've been called to serve. And, yes, sir, Dr. Ben Carson is a great friend and mentor to me. Obviously, my predecessor as the Secretary of HUD, who I had the opportunity to serve under him and with him in the first Trump administration. And so we do have a mutual dear friend and brother together.
How big is it? How much housing do you provide nationwide now?
So, John, we, for you and your listeners, HUD is a provider of vouchers, rental assistance, Section 8. But from just a round number, we provide for about 4 million families per year for about $42 billion a year. And through our public and Indian housing, we provide these roofs over people's head in America, really the most vulnerable people, if you will, in our country.
Now, I live in New York City, and I know we have a very, very large, NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority. Is that coming under HUD, I believe?
So, yes, sir. NYCHA is New York City Housing Authority, and it's probably one of the oldest and largest housing authorities in our country. And, housing authorities are the city, private builders. HUD just provides the vouchers for people to live inside of not just NYCHA, but any housing authority around our country.
4 million apartments, 4 million families. What is the biggest difficulties? Traditionally the difficulties were there was crime was one of the items, and I know you guys are on top of it. What are you doing as far as crime in NYCHA facilities or in HUD-related facilities?
Yes, sir. Great question. So, crime is a tremendous problem inside of public housing, not just NYCHA, but all across our country. And, that's something that a lot of people don't think about is the nefarious activity, the criminal activity, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, drug abuse, illegal aliens living inside of public housing. And so recently we announced the HUD Crime Hotline. And this is for people, in particularly in Memphis, Tennessee, and Washington, D.C. housing authorities, according to the president's leadership right now on our Safe and Beautiful Task Force to keep our city streets safe. But in Memphis and D.C. right now, we announced this hotline so people can call in and report any kind of criminal activity to our Office of Inspector General. I'll give you the numbers. It's 1-800-347-3735, 1-800-347-3735. And right now, the priority is Memphis and Washington, D.C. housing authorities, but we're working right now to make this so that every housing authority citizen is prioritized to call into this hotline to report these criminal activities.
Now, in addition, you try to take care of the homeless, and how's that working out? Because there's been so many problems in so many cities.
So during the Biden administration, John, there was about $12 billion in our Continuum of Care Notice of Fund and Opportunity. It's a competitive grant. But essentially, it really, John, became a Biden area slush fund to create the homeless housing industrial complex. And what I'm saying right here is that it was just concentrating on getting people off the streets and housing them, but there were no strings attached, no transparency. And so really, we've had people dying in homeless shelters because of drug abuse. And so now under President Trump, what we're doing is refocusing that and not only housing people, getting people off the streets, but really attacking the root of homelessness and mental illness, drug abuse. And not only will we house them, we'll treat them and then help them to be self-sustainable so that we can be good stewards over taxpayer money, but also bringing in our faith-based entities to the table, because every single day around our country, our faith-based entities are taking care of and helping to transform our homeless neighbors. And so now we'll bring them to the table, because before in the Biden administration, they were stiff-armed and not allowed to be at the table because of their beliefs and their conviction.
So, in other words, you're bringing in some of the church groups, and you're bringing in to be able to help with the entire system?
Yes, sir. And so, one of our goals here and part of our responsibility is to be good stewards over taxpayer money. And so this continuum of care, NOFO, is about $3.9 billion. And so we want to steward well over taxpayer money to make sure that we're actually treating our homeless neighbors and helping them to live self-sufficient and independent lives and bringing in the groups that can actually bring results.
Now, just before President Trump became president again in January of 25, I had dinner with him, and we discussed migrants, and we discussed criminals, et cetera, et cetera. Are people like that in the system by accident?
Yes, sir. And, I mean, you said it. You talk about over 12 million illegal aliens that came across our border. And this has literally hindered housing affordability, housing supply, and really the costs in our country have risen dramatically or rose dramatically because of the millions of illegals that came across our border. Because of that, we have hundreds of thousands of illegals that are literally living in HUD-funded housing. 59% of illegal alien families use one or more welfare programs in our country, costing us about $42 billion a year, John. And so you think about that, that is resources, taxpayer money that could be used for American citizens. And so at HUD, we really work very hard to prioritize only American people. We're working with DHS for a data collection partnership to make sure that those that are living in HUD-funded housing are American people. We've stopped the Biden era where they were allowing illegal aliens to receive FHA-backed mortgages, and they were turning a blind eye to that, but no longer. We want transparency. We want accountability. And our FHA mortgage-backed program is for American people and American people only. And the last thing is that we're mandating or requiring, if you will, public housing authorities to give us a comprehensive account of every person living inside of a HUD-funded housing, either Section 8 and or rental assistance. We want to know who's there, their name, their contact information, size of the unit, number of people in the unit, because we only want to prioritize the American people. And again, it goes back to being good stewards over taxpayer money.
What else would you like to tell the American people?
And I thank God for the American people. We pray for our country, and I would ask them to continue to pray for our president and pray for all of our administration and those who have been called to serve, and to know that President Trump every single day is working tirelessly to make America affordable again as it pertains to housing and every policy that impacts our American families. The president is tirelessly working. Administrative officials are tirelessly working to make sure that Americans are safe, that Americans can live with their families, afford their homes, new home ownership can happen. And so I would encourage the American people that we are hard at work and doing it every single day so that America can not only be made great again, but we can thrive again and be a blessing in our generation.
Secretary of HUD, Scott Turner, and thank you and congratulations on the new position, and thank you for working hard for our country, and thank you for helping the needy of our country, and God bless you and God bless America.
God bless you, John. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back right after this break. Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. A new banking system. It's called the Next Bank, and it's created by Scott Shea, who is the co-founder of Signature Bank. Well, Scott, Next Bank, tell us about it. This is a new type of bank. It's chartered in Wyoming. It's going to be a global bank.
Yeah. Well, first of all, John, thank you for having me. So let me tell you a little bit about Next, because it really is something new under the sun. We've created the first, so there's two things that I'd like to convey mostly, which is about the bank, which is that it is the first non-fractional, fully reserved bank in the United States. So what does that mean? If the average business, and we're a business-to-business bank, if a business deposits money in a bank, to do transactions. They think that that money is always available for use. They can take it out. They can do whatever they want with it. But the reality is of banking, and I know this for many years as a banker, is what banks do with the money, not what Next does with the money. What banks do with the money typically is lend it out. So it's sitting in mortgages on the houses that your listeners own, or it's sitting in loans to restaurants or to construction companies, or to just regular any company down the street, to car loans. If everyone wants to take out their money all at the same time from the bank, then what happens is that the bank has to apply to the Fed and say, please give me money, please be my lender of last resort. And fundamentally, what's driving all of the desire for crypto and for alternatives is people realize, and this is for another conversation, but people realize that ultimately the Fed can decide and the FDIC can decide to do what they want to do. They can say, okay, we'll lend you money, or they can say, no, we don't particularly like you for whatever reason, and they can just say no. And every single bank in the United States is susceptible to that. Every single bank is vulnerable, essentially, to needing a lender of last resort and liquidity. We're different, and that's what's so stunning about us, is that we take all of the money that people put in the bank and we invest it in 1 month to at most 3 month treasuries. So there's no credit risk, no interest rate risk. If every depositor on any business day wants to take out all of their money, we can give them all of their money, shrink to zero, and be ready to be back in business the next day. There's no one we need to call. We don't need to call up the Fed and say, please lend us money. We just can go forward. So that's something that fully reserve banks can do that no other banks in the world, and there is no other U.S. full reserve bank. So this is something new under the sun.
So this is a new creation that you created,
yes.
And it's a worldwide bank, and it's backed by 100%. In other words, I'll give you an example. If everybody want their money back from Bitcoin, the Bitcoin would go down 50%, could go down or something like that. But it cannot happen to Next.
That is correct. It's a perfect example. And if a bank tried to liquidate all of its loans in one day to pay off the depositors, the loans would go down tremendously in value. So what we have is we're investing literally in the shortest term treasuries in the most liquid market of the world. So, and we stress tested. So under, sort of the worst case scenarios, even if the rates go up dramatically, super duper dramatically, we can still liquidate all of the assets in the same day and pay everybody out. That's something different.
Well, what else should what else should the business people out there know about it? How do they hook up with you?
Two things. Number one, the special thing that we offer, and the reason we wanted to have our money always available at any time, is that we do 24 real, not fake, not it looks like it, but real 24/7 by 365 settlement. So that means that if you're dropping off goods at 3 a.m. in the morning at your warehouse, at the same time as those goods are dropped off, I can say I delivered them to you. You can say I got them. A third party can say, yeah, we've inspected it. The milk is good. The eggs are good. Whatever it is good. Then the money and the bill of lading or the other documents that go with it can change hands immediately. So we're better than a letter of credit in the sense that if you take out a letter of credit, you need lawyers, you need papers, and even if you have a letter of credit, you have to wait until the banks are open on Monday morning. So if it's 3 a.m. on Sunday morning, you got to wait. or if it's a bank holiday on Monday, you got to wait for your money.
Scott Shea
we actually have the money with us.
Scott Shea, will the lawyers hate you because people can get the deal done in one day, and the lawyers don't get to play ping pong?
You know what? I have tremendous confidence that lawyers will find another gig. They're really good at that. They'll find a new area, and I wish them the best on that. But here, it doesn't make sense that just to buy and sell goods, you need to get a third party. You need to get legal documentation. You need to spend a lot of money. And ultimately, that's good for the consumer because the costs are lower, and it's good for the business because they're paying less, so they can sell more. So this is really, and I will tell you another big use case is, of course, is for cryptos trading, because Bitcoin is a 24/7 marketplace, and it used to be that there was risk that you had to wait. You'd sell your Bitcoin, immediately on Friday night at 8 p.m., but you might have to wait until Monday or Tuesday to get your money via SWIFT and via, which isn't so SWIFT, and via the bank wires. So we're helping the emerging crypto industry, which this administration has created a legal framework for. And real business, commerce.
Now, if I want to find out more about it, do you have a website? How do I do it?
Absolutely. Please go to n3xt.io. n3xt.io.
Scott Shea, I will go to it myself and look at it. And thank you for coming on this Sunday morning. And God bless you and God bless America.
Take care and God bless you, John.
The Cats Roundtable.
With us is Lynn Shaw, Lynn's Warriors. Well, Lynn, what are you doing to protect our kids this week?
Oh, my goodness, John, good morning. Chaos on the Hill this past week. Last Tuesday, there was a congressional hearing just kind of thrown at everybody last minute. Let me explain what this means. Now, look, everybody knows the Warriors. We want everybody. Our mission is to be a warrior in your own home and community to protect kids and families. But let me give you the background, what happened here. We've been waiting 1 year for our bipartisan Kids Online Safety Act to be brought to the floor for a vote. That's all we're waiting for in the House. Stalling. A reminder, again, bipartisan, right? These are human rights abuses against our kids.
I got the same deal. My deal is on AM radio, bipartisan. I'm still waiting for it to come to the floor.
Well, I don't know if you're going to like what I'm about to say, but I'm saying it. So let me tell you what happened. After over a year of waiting, because our bill, Kids Online Safety Act, passed 91-3 in the Senate, no-brainer, we thought the House would be easy. But it just sat there. It sat there because Speaker Mike Johnson just didn't bring it to any kind of schedule, any kind of vote. Waiting. And you know what? Right before Thanksgiving, John, when everybody's traveling, chaos, the government just reopened fairly recently, they said, okay, we're going to announce Chairman Guthrie, who is from Kentucky, and he's the chairman of the House Committee on Energy and Commerce, and Congressman Gus Bilirakis, he's from Florida, chairman of the Subcommittee on Commerce, Manufacturing, and Trade. They announced we're going to have a hearing this past Tuesday. It's going to be called Legislative Solutions to Protect Children and Teens Online. Sounds great. When they give you names that sound great, that's when the alarm goes off. Something's wrong here. And you know what it is, John? They have lumped 19 pieces of legislation into one hearing, and that is impossible for members of Congress, staff. Everybody was coming back from Thanksgiving weekend to be on top of it, to do their research, to know what's going on. We never heard of this 19 bills altogether, including our Kids Online Safety Act. Okay,
I think AM radio is in the same committee.
It's the same thing. I'm telling you right here. Listen to what I have to say. There is chaos. It was open to the public, okay? But, of course, we gathered everybody who could get to go there to show up in person, because I'll tell you why. Kids Online Safety Act, and this is very sad. It deserves its own face its own hearing. But what they did, John, to this bill, and this is why I want everybody to listen, because it sounds great, teen and kids, safety, everything we rally for at the Warriors. They took out duty of care. The one thing in the bill that would hold big tech responsible, that they had a reasonable duty of care. If they saw anything harmful towards kids online, harmful towards anybody actually, but especially kids, take it down immediately. It's on you, big tech. It's not on the parents. It's not on the kids. It's on you. If there's sextortion, if there's cyberbullying, you take it down. And you know what? They took that duty of care out of the bill. They also said, you know what? This has to do with, we're going to talk about, John, it's the truth, AI. Artificial intelligence is ruling the roost. We've got David Sachs in the White House. He is the AI czar. That is his name, and crypto too, but we'll stick with the AI czar for now. He is pushing this agenda, and he is pushing the president and the administration into, look, we need an executive order. We can't have any regulations on big tech. I mean, John, it's the only business, big tech, that has no guardrails, no regulations. Nobody else has it. Nothing. They're running amok, a runaway train. But our focus here is on children and families and keeping them safe. So what happened is now it's being pushed that, okay, well, AI is right here, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and we need it. We need it because it's a national security threat. We got to keep up with China because they think they're being led by China right now, and we got to beat China. Global dominance. Those are the exact words I hear in Washington every single day. But what they're not talking about is safety for the kids, John. How do we make it all work to keep kids safe? So this hearing just went in one ear, out the other. Nobody really knew what was going on. We have to wait and see what comes of this. But here's the thing. The president is being urged to give an executive order and put it into the National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA.
Yeah, but if it's an executive order, the next president could rescind it.
Well, he could, but I don't think anybody's looking at child safety, John. Let's be real here. Nobody's looking at the kids. They're looking at the health care. They're looking at national security. They're looking at building these data centers. They're looking at grabbing all of our information and doing who knows what with it. Nobody's talking about the kids and the regulations. But here's the other scary part. This executive order, and also what's sitting with our Kids Online Safety Act right now, the second part of it, duty of care taken out, watered down bill. So what does that mean? And they also, states have done a better job in protecting children. So we have over 20 states that have their own laws regarding AI and safety in kids. This will preempt all of that, erase it, take it away from the states. This is a mess. We're going to have lawsuits. We've got hundreds of people already that are fighting this. We can't believe what's going on. But here's where it trickles down. To survivor parents, we at the Warriors have worked with and other orgs for almost 4 years now on the Kids Online Safety Act, who bravely come out. John, their children have been harmed online, and they're coming out to tell the stories and to share their children's pictures, and they've testified 3-4 times in front of Congress, in front of Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, all of those big tech CEOs. We can't let this happen to any other children. We need to put some sort of guardrails. We've got to work on this together. And, John, nobody is looking at it.
Well, you make the list of who is screwing you and who is doing the wrong thing by you, and we'll let the whole world know about it.
Well, I'm going to give you that list, and John, I'm going to put you to work, because this cannot be. We cannot work with parents to look at their faces and to deliver them something right now, some sort of guardrails is criminal, and that's what we say at the Warriors. So please, any kind of help with this, because what happened on the Hill last week, you cannot have 19 bills lumped into one where they're not really looking at it, they don't care about the kids, and it's all about AI. That's what I'm talking about, AI. But what about AI and the children and safety? That's what we ask for, some sort of guardrails, John.
Well, Lynn Shaw, on behalf of the Warriors, and give us your website again.
Made it very easy. Lynn'sWarriors.org is the website. You can sign up for our newsletter, Lynn's Warriors on X, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, because I want everybody to come along with us and be a warrior. And you know what? Just do it with your own kids and grandkids, and that is good enough. Well, we'll do the heavy lifting. You do it in your home, and it will snowball around the country, and everybody will become much safer.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking out for our kids, and I'm there with you. I stand side by side by you.
Thank you.
And God bless you, and God bless America. And if there's a deep state in Washington, somebody's going to drown, and it's not going to be us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. God bless you.
Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. Every Sunday morning, we'll bring you the latest in what's happening in our community, our country, and the world. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a nice Sunday.
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Payne Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.